Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello people and welcome to the Rational League to Footy Judge Mo. This is the one after Inter slap Arsenal 1-0 with a penalty. I'll not call it a slap, but I'll call it a slap because Moreno slapped the ball with his hand. Lots of crying on the internet, of course, with, oh my God, the referees are this, the referees are that. But listen, when you go to the big boys, you lose and you go home and you drag your tail behind you. It's as simple as that. I did the preview on Rory's channel. If you haven't watched that, go and watch it. Big up Rory, of course, here and Rory's channel. We did it. It was actually one of the best previews I did, actually. It was so calm. And I watched some of the comments. One of the people said, Rory, don't bring this arrogant guy again to the channel.
The thing is that they're not used to having anyone disagree with my I'm a dictator on that channel. So the second someone came in and said anything other than what I say, then it's arrogant.
But it was, to be honest, I actually left that one feeling like enjoying what I did. It was so much fun actually doing that preview. I hope that we can do more of this. Of course, Nobbins is here after being really slapped by Sporting Lisbon, like really, really getting slapped. The team was absolutely torn apart by Ruben Amorim, who's going to Manchester United to dominate Manchester again and bring Manchester United back to the glory days. Of course, he's going to be the new coming of Alex Ferguson, the second coming of Alex Ferguson. That is Ruben Amorim, as you think. Of course, Chelsea absolutely in the UCL 8-0 against FC Noah. Of course, big up Chelsea with 8 goals. It could have been 10 or 12 against the mighty, the Giants, FC Noah in the Conference League. Of course, Chelsea, absolutely brilliant. Listen, people, hit that like button if you're here. We'll talk about the Chelsea-Arsenal game and Thierry Henry somehow saying something that I never expected to see at this current moment after game week 10. We'll talk about the everyone is tired at City, but Kevin De Bruyne is back, which is a lot of City fans are hopeful. We'll talk about Chelsea versus Arsenal. Is it the last chance for Arsenal? Are Chelsea calm? We know Cole Palmer is fit. That's the reports that Cole Palmer is going to be good for the game. Declan Rice might be out to the broken toe, right? Rory will correct me if I'm wrong. But Odegaard is back. The creator is back. The guy is back to actually fix everything. But how is everyone doing? Only Dan is the winner here. Oh.
Hey, I'm a winner outside of football. That's all that matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all winners, really, in our heart of hearts.
I'm not doing too badly. I don't think I'm losing my head as much as some Arsenal fans are. I'm relatively calm. Composed.
You're calm. What did you think about the game anyway?
Against Inter?
Yeah. Just quickly. Well, no, I've spoken about the game many times. So
we started really badly. I don't think we had any idea what we were supposed to do in the first 15 minutes against that formation. We grew into it. I felt like it was probably fair that if we'd gone in at halftime at 0-0, that would have probably been fair. Concede the penalty, unlucky, but it's the rules in the Champions League, so you can't complain. And then second half, I thought we were decent. You didn't really go for the second goal. We didn't really create much outside of crossing the ball in, and I thought Bissek and De Vrij were fantastic. And yeah, we're coming away losing 1-0. So credit to Inter. Would have probably been a different game if you put your full strength team out from the start. Yeah, it's what it is.
Do you think Odegaard would have made big difference in that game?
I think anyone other than Trossard would have. I think I'd have made a big difference if I played instead of Trossard. To be honest, he's frustrating the life out of me. But yeah, it would have made a difference probably. Even when he came on for the 4 minutes that he came on, you could instantly tell the way he presses is completely different and much better. The way he gets his head up on the ball, looks for a pass through the lines, so much better. So, I mean, even Waneri, when he came on, he had 10 minutes, created himself 2 good shooting opportunities. Like, yeah, I do feel like Arteta got a couple of things wrong. So, yeah, I'm not too bothered. The major concern, I think we'll talk about it based on the Henry calling out Arteta part, but the main concern for me is that that's the 4th European away game in 2024.
Without scoring a goal.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. On that, Thierry Henry called out not only the European thing, but he said, when they asked him about the title race, he said, at the current moment, they are not. They need to fix the football first, step by step. Before you talk about the actual title race, you need to fix the football you play. Because when I'm looking at it, to be honest, and I want to get the other guys' opinion. Guys, let's get the likes up. Let's get to 100 likes right off the bat. Because this is very important what I said. Because I'm not sure if we discussed this on this show. I said the problem with Arsenal now is that there are 2 steps. And that's different from City's situation. Because City's performances are not good, but they're still getting the result. They're only 2 points behind Liverpool. So the result. So all they need to do is fix the performance because the results are coming their way. Yes, they lost to Bournemouth, but they still with 24 points. It's not a bad return of the first 10 games. You lost 6 points. One of them you drew against Arsenal 2-2. And then you lost 5 or 6 points? 5.
They've lost 7, I think. They're on 23, aren't they?
23 now. So 23, so 7 points. The thing about what Henry said, if you read between the line, is that he's saying Arsenal have 2 steps. It's not only that they're losing the points, they're not performing well. So first you need to fix the performances, then they can talk about a title race or not title race. And I think it starts with this weekend. First of all, do you agree with him that title race might be over against Chelsea?
Yeah, I think if we lose and Liverpool beat Villa, I think you're looking at a remarkably. I mean, we would literally be in a position that I don't think any team has won from previous. I don't think any team's come back from 10 points behind top after 11 games and come back to win. So maybe I'm wrong there, but yeah, we'd be in a bad place, 100%. And I agree with some of what Henry said. I disagree with other parts of it. I still look at us in the same way that you look at City, and we're all willing to, or we would all say like City without Rodry cannot physically play the same way, and right now they haven't found a solution to that. I think Odegaard is equally important in the way that we play, and we haven't figured out a way of playing without him. So Look, there are other elements that need work, but I do think Odegaard coming back will make a massive, massive difference. I mean, Arteta, even before Odegaard got injured, by the way, Arteta had said previously, everything in possession is based around Odegaard. And that was kind of a little bit of a red flag at the time. Like, if you're willing to admit that literally everything that you do revolves around one player, like, that's not ideal. But I think we've seen that is the case. My concern is that he's not going to start against Chelsea. So it's kind of irrelevant, the difference that he makes.
But I disagree with you, and I want to get Dan and Nova's. I disagree with you a little bit in this, Rory. In the first games when Odegaard was out, I thought Kai Havertz was doing that link-up play between the right back, which was Timber, and Saka pretty well. And because Trossard was delivering at that time, up top, it was going all right. I think Kai Havertz, he's not going to do it to the same level as Odegaard. We know that, right? But I thought he was pretty good in that right-hand midfield. Me and you spoke about this. It's like, you didn't miss Odegaard that much. There was still this inside cuts by Saka that passes inside the 18, that runs from Timber. I remember these passes on the edge of the 18. Timber used to make these runs. And Havertz did very well. For some reason, Arteta abandoned this and isolated Saka. That's why Inter, for example, were able to mark Saka because there was nobody supporting him. Ben White didn't support him enough. And Havertz didn't support him enough. And I think that is a tactical problem rather than a player that is missing.
Yeah, it definitely started leaning far more towards kind of playing Trossard and Havertz as a front two, but then both of them dropping off so that you had no centre forward. I think the period where Havertz was functioning well was also when we had Calafiori at left back and Timber at right back. And I think losing Calafiori again has made quite a big difference in that situation. It's definitely affected Martinelli massively. I also think taking Timber away from right back, I don't think Ben White is fully fit, to be quite honest. When you think back to what Ben White was doing last season, where he constantly bombing back and forward, overlapping Saka, underlapping Saka, we see that a couple of times a game now. So yeah, there are a number of other small things, but I think Odegaard is definitely the most substantial. Because you're right, we did survive without Odegaard to begin with. I mean, we went away to Spurs and played a midfield of Partey, Jorginho, and Trossard. Like, we were capable of picking up results.
No, but also against Southampton and Leicester, you created fucking 25 chances against Leicester and Southampton without Odegaard.
Yeah.
And they were defending the whole game because Kai Havertz was doing two jobs and Trossard was all right and the team was okay. I don't think it's a matter of Odegaard. To be honest with you, looking from outside, yes, Odegaard will help. I want to get the guys' opinions. But also, Arteta changed something. I don't know what it is. Is it instructions to right back? Is it the midfield is playing different now?
I think part of it's also the press. For me, it's just the last few games, and I think it's partly just because we've been coming up against better opposition than Leicester and Southampton, respectfully to them.
Okay.
But saw it against Newcastle, saw it against Inter, saw it even against Bournemouth. We're really easy to beat in the press. And I think Trossard is the main culprit of that in the press.
Really? You think it's all about Trossard?
Not entirely about Trossard, but Trossard relative to Odegaard is
actually, you're absolutely right. You know, City, when they have one player, when we played City, if there was one player that is not pressing the right man on the pitch, you bypass the press.
Yeah, it is.
I know exactly how Inter the same. When we have a lazy forward, one that cannot press, your press is useless. So I get exactly what you're saying because everyone has to go in a certain area for you to shut down the passing lanes and everyone is marked. And once you have that one guy that doesn't know what to do,
the weak link,
that is the free player.
And for me, it's not even laziness with Trossard. It's understanding. It's understanding when and how to press, the angle he needs to press a player at to force them the direction he wants to. Like, that was the thing I noticed instantly when Odegaard came on, is that he almost feints the way that he's going to press to move someone so they think they're going to go inside, and then he goes back the other way. And Trossard just doesn't do that. Trossard runs in a straight line straight towards them, and they can go either way around him and work it past him. So, yeah, I don't want to blame everything on Trossard because I think there are definitely other issues, but he's been really frustrating to watch in the last few games.
I'm gonna go ahead. Nobbins or Dan, somewhat you guys can talk, but I want to say something. Arsenal defense against Inter, when Arsenal went to press, there were streets at the back of the Arsenal defense. Dumfries, Darmian, even Bisic went 1-on-1, but because it's a guy that is center back young, he didn't. Like, if this was a Bastoni or DeMarco, it would have been a 1-on-1 because he had literally a 10-yard run on Saliba and Gabriel. And that is something that is worrying a little bit about Arsenal's defense, is that when Arsenal go to press nowadays, they concede chances. And it's very obvious. That is different than the Arsenal of last season, when they used to press but not concede chances, because Saliba, Gabriel, Ben White at that time, I don't know if it was Kivior or somebody was playing in that back line, they used to be very, very proactive in terms of defending. Saliba and Gabriel used to read the play better than anyone else together. And that is worrying a little bit. If you play against Chelsea like this, and you open up, and they bypass the press with their two midfielders, you're in for a long game.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to chime in here? Dan?
Look, I'll be honest. I don't know what's happening with Arsenal at the moment. I sort of am waiting for them to turn up at any minute, if I'm being honest with you. I just feel like it can't go on. They can't have lost all the quality they had and been so reliant on one player when so many other players are like very good. I just don't believe it all. Don't get me wrong. Odegaard's been very good and probably over the last 2-3 seasons been one of the best, most consistent 10s in the league, if not the. And I just don't believe that all those players without him literally become ineffective, reluctant to attack in the way that they did in the previous seasons. I'm just sort of waiting for it to come alive. And I just think a Chelsea fixture is the exact fixture they might need to do that. So I'm sort of apprehensive for this weekend because I just think Arsenal, if they ever needed a game to get themselves out of a rut and get up for something, it's a London derby. But
we've used this fixture before, to be fair, to get ourselves.
Yeah,
back up, right?
This is it, right? You definitely have, because it's an easy motivational tool. You don't have to get light bulbs out for this one or pickpockets or something like that. It's literally as simple as it is. It's a London derby, but I do think that if Arsenal fail to sort of light that spark, then I think they'll be very rugged defensively, and I think that will also pose a test for Chelsea as well, as we've seen other teams do. So I think it's going to be a really difficult fixture to navigate. I'm
Who's going to have it more difficult?
Oh, I think Chelsea. I think we will. Only because of what I've seen. I think what it is Arteta probably felt like he was never going to be able to outscore City. I think this is probably what's happened this season. Is I think he probably started thinking he might not be able to outscore them, so maybe he could out-defend them. And I wonder if they've kind of gone too far the other way. And now with the Odegaard injury and the lack of confidence that might be there throughout their team, they're obviously trying to sort of get back into form. I'm not sure really. I'm confused by Arsenal because I expected them at this stage to be well in the title race, not being at risk of being out of it completely.
Yeah, I'm gonna get Nobbins. Nobbins, the question is, who's gonna have it more difficult?
Oh, I was going to talk about like Arsenal's general issues.
Chelsea or Arsenal?
Who's going to have it more difficult?
In the game?
It's at the Stamford Bridge, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right, I'll say
Arsenal don't have Declan Rice, by the way.
I think it's going to be a draw.
No, we might.
He's a pathological liar again at it again. He's not giving information.
Well, he's got a broken toe, but it depends which toe's broken.
Did you see that, Nobbins? He's like, they have a broken toe. They haven't said he's out or in.
Yeah.
You have to guess. It's a getting game at this moment. Which toe?
Well,
go ahead, Nobbins.
That's good, though. It's not like you don't want to say, yeah, he's definitely out. Like, you want to keep him guessing because then they'll have to prepare differently.
It worked against Liverpool, to be honest, with Saka. They didn't know what to expect.
There you go.
Go ahead.
I think it will be a draw, in fairness. Chelsea are obviously in a very good bit of form. It's at the Bridge. Arsenal less so. It depends on who's available, obviously, as well. All I was going to say on it was I think that we're sort of, based on the start of the season, obviously things can change. It just seems to sort of be the Arsenal squad building. If we're saying that, Odegaard going out it's causing all these issues. It's poor squad building. I think that's fair to say, because one of the best ways that you can beat a very defensive side in a low block is to have small space operators. Odegaard would be one of those players, obviously. Marino, Rice, Partey, Havertz, etc. All these players who have been played in midfield. They're not really that. Saka is, but he's not being played centrally, is he? He's being played out wide. So I think that we're sort of seeing like an almost like borderline negligent degree of squad building to an extent. Nwaneri's not. I don't know how much he's played, but he doesn't seem to have been playing that much. He's obviously that sort of player, but he's obviously very, very inexperienced. And it's a similar thing to City in that we've also been negligent in respect of our squad building. Like everyone's seen what's happened. I guess the difference might be that City have obviously got a lot of credit in the bank, having won quite a bit, and also like a lot of those players at sort of like the end of their cycle. Whereas this Arsenal team, the idea is that it's in its pomp. You know what I mean? Like it should already be here. It should be ready. It shouldn't really be detrimented by one injury, and then you go, oh, who's gonna like pull the strings and manipulate now? Who's gonna manipulate the low block within it? Oh, the only player that can do that is Saka, and we're shoving him out at right wing. So question marks of Henry was asking question marks of Arteta. I don't know if Arteta's the guy to pick every single player, or if it was Edu or whoever. But if I was an Arsenal fan, I think I would be in the same way that as a City fan, I'm very upset about how our squad's been built. Right now, as an Arsenal fan, I'm asking questions going, why has it been allowed to be built in this manner? Because this is now Arteta's side. Why is one injury just taking us out to this point? Obviously, it remains to be seen. Maybe there'll be a solution. Maybe that's just to move Saka more central. But that would be my question mark there. Borderline negligence.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what if you're acknowledging that Odegaard's such an important piece of the puzzle, and you don't have it, that there clearly was not a solution, like a preferential solution to an Odegaard injury. So what was the plan? Just literally.
I was going crazy about this, Rory, because I thought the plan was Nwaneri. It was very obvious. You took a 17 years old, added him to the first team. He's fully, by the way, on the first team from what I read. He's fully training with the first team. He's not playing games with the youth teams. He is on every single match day. He's fully a first teamer now. He's not like a youth player that is being integrated.
Yep.
But then when your main creator is out, you're not playing the guy. So why did you add him then? You saw like people. I was also going crazy about this. You sold your guys that would come in for Odegaard, and you added a 17 years old, and Odegaard is out. And instead of just play the guy, give him a half or something, you're throwing him a 10-minute, a 20-minute, a 30-minute. And I'm like, what is going on with you?
Yeah, it's frustrated me. Like, I could understand why if at the start of the season, Arteta's plan was, okay, Nwaneri's going to be in and around the first team squad for the season. He's going to get games in the Carabao Cup, maybe the early stages of the FA Cup. Maybe he comes on as a substitute in comfortable Premier League games when we're leading. We've not had a single comfortable Premier League game when we're leading yet this season, which hasn't helped. He has started in the Carabao Cup. He scored 3 goals in 2 games. And I just think, he was probably gambling on not having to think about replacing Odegaard for any significant amount of time at the start of the season. Unfortunately, that situation's arisen, whatever the word is. And I just don't think, I don't know. He's bottled. It's not the right word, but he's been really cautious about using Nwaneri. And for me, there are times where, like I said, okay, you might think, well, 17-year-old San Siro, Champions League, tough place to bring him on. But if you're going to bring him on for 10 minutes at the end of the game, then you may as well bring him on for half an hour and give him at least there's no difference in terms of if he can do 10 minutes, he can do half an hour. And it was clear after 45 minutes, after an hour, that we weren't creating enough. So, yeah, I felt like he could have come on earlier in that game. I feel like he could have potentially started.
Didn't he give him 30 minutes in the game before against Newcastle?
Yeah, did.
Which is very strange, by the way. Against Newcastle in the Premier League, when Newcastle are more physical than Inter, to be honest, you're giving him 30 minutes. And against Inter that are sitting back, they are not going to do anything to the kid. You're giving him 8 minutes. He came on the 83rd, 84th minute. or 80 seconds,
Yeah.
something like that, like
82nd
after
minute,
the
yeah.
80th minute. And
Yeah.
I'm like, why?
Yeah, there were a couple of other things I didn't understand. You know, if we're looking at the Chelsea game, presumably Martinelli's going to start against Chelsea. Why did he play the entire 90 against Inter when he wasn't having a great game anyway? You've got Raheem Sterling on the bench, didn't come on, unused sub.
Yeah, that is very crazy. And you know that he's not starting against Chelsea and Stamford Bridge.
Yeah,
Raheem
exactly. We
Sterling,
weren't saving.
he's not
yeah,
even
we weren't-
eligible. He's
Yeah,
not even
not
eligible
eligible.
for the game.
Yeah, so you've got a guy on the bench who's
Oh, that was
literally not going to
crazy,
be involved for the
actually.
weekend. By the way, the only attacking signing you've made in the last 12 months. You need a goal. You could do with resting Martinelli anyway, and it wasn't like Martinelli was causing into huge problems and was on the verge of scoring, and yet Sterling didn't come on for him. So no, I do. I think there are some question marks over Arteta, which is fine. I think people that then lose their head and are, calling for him to be sacked are, also quite mental. But
Arteta won't play Ethan with his creativity. I don't understand this super chat, Bermuda Gun. I actually don't. Like, what is the point of this super chat? If Odegaard is not, I'm telling you something, Rory, to be honest with you. And we're going to talk about the game now. Then, Nobbins, we'll talk about the games. Guys, there's over 500 people here. I woke up at 6 a.m. to do the show. So you better hit that like button, people. So like the video. Get us to 300 likes live. Challenge for the people. Get us to 300 likes live. Just check the likes and see if they're lit or not. It looks like thumbs up. And also, turn on the notification bell. And all these guys' channels are in the description, of course. Rory Talks Football, Dan, Nobbins, Tom Little as well, who is a fraudulent and he's not here. But it's all right. It's all right. Liverpool are going to smash Aston Villa and be 10 points or 9 points. Against Chelsea, though, if Odegaard is not playing and he doesn't play Ethan Nwaneri, he's doomed. He's done. I don't think Arsenal are going to do anything offensively, apart from relying on corners and set pieces. And by the way, Arsenal scored only 2 goals, by the way, this season from corners. It's not the amount of people. People think it's last season. Arsenal scored 2 goals only, and Arsenal conceded 40% of the goals against them from set pieces, which is the highest in the Premier League. Do anybody know that? It's the highest percentage in the Premier League from set pieces is Arsenal conceding goals. So they have been not good in set pieces this season. At all, by the way.
Chelsea
Offensively,
aren't going to set up massively defensively, though, are they? So it might not be the same issues.
Which is, okay, so I want to get your, how do you think both teams are going to set up Nobbins? Because I had this argument on Al Ahwa yesterday and we didn't reach a solution.
I don't think like either side's going to set up like, inherently defensively. I don't think Chelsea at Stamford Bridge will be, wanting to play within themselves. I think that they will feel that that maybe, Arsenal in a bad situation, they can maybe go for it. I expect Chelsea to have most of the ball. I don't know if that means Arsenal are going to go totally defensive. I'm sure they'll try. I can see it being an even game, to be honest. I don't think it's a case of one side will set up defensively, the other side will set up offensively. I think both sides will have the mentality of we're going to try to go out and win this game. I think it's going to actually be quite an entertaining game for once.
Why do I agree with you? You know what? I agree with you. I thought people said it's going to be cagey. I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think that the way Chelsea
I don't see why
set
it
up
would, yeah.
Like the way Chelsea set up, and I don't believe, this is my belief, and I want to get Dan's opinion and Rory's opinion. I am with Nobbin. I don't believe either will set up fully defensively at all. I think Arteta will go for it, like he did against Liverpool, and against Inter Rory, from the first minute, you were pressing Inter. From the first minute.
Yeah, we do press, but there's different types of, we even press away at City at times. We like, but you can tell that we're also, it's more about what we do if the press gets beaten. Like if the first press gets beaten, we retreat rapidly if we're away at City, or if we're, I think, away at Stamford Bridge. I think that's the difference. Whereas other teams will maintain the high line and still try and win the ball back. I think that's the difference.
I get your point. Once they bypass the press, you retreat. I think it's going to be too late. But I actually think he's going to press. A lot of people think Arteta is going to do once we lose the ball, we aren't playing a low block. We're playing a mid block, 30 yards, compact, but we defend from halfway line all the way to our outside. I don't think he's going to do that much. I think he might, but I think when you have the ball, I think you're going to spread fullbacks high. I think you're going to go for it. Chelsea might be more defensive than you. Chelsea might do the Brighton plan, which is we're gonna let you have the ball and then we're gonna beat you in the transition. And I think it's the smart thing to do. Arsenal have not been good against transition team this season. So I believe Chelsea should do that. It's going to be an end-to-end game. Go ahead, Dan.
Something there, Mo. Like I actually believe Chelsea have looked better in transition this season. I think when I think of Chelsea's best moments this season, a lot of it has been when we've been able to hit teams on the counter attack and do it with a lot of pace. But I actually don't believe Maresca wants that, and I actually think Maresca would much rather have a patient, more controlled game than any game that has the risk of becoming a basketball match. He said that in a press conference himself. And I don't see him changing, and I don't see him adapting that sort of style of his game. I see him adapting players in certain positions and what areas of the pitch they might occupy, but I don't really see him changing to a more defensive approach because I just don't think that's something he believes.
But he did against other teams this season.
I think if you're using Brighton as the example, I think he was more forced into that at first because I think they were quite surprised with how Brighton's set up. But I think obviously that line of Brighton's was so high, it ultimately forced Chelsea back. And until Chelsea realised when Enzo Fernandez played the first ball over the top that there was ludicrous amount of space in behind, I don't know if we were aware that that was the way that game was ever going to turn out. But other than that, I can't think of too many games where we've been forced back or decided to sit back and look for the transition. It's more that we've been forced or we've been a little bit more open because of habits that might have been in this team from last season under Pochettino.
That the reality, one of the things I wanted to discuss also, because also yesterday we were talking about the midfield battle. Palmer, Caicedo, Lavia can definitely dominate games much, much better than Partey, Moreno, Odegaard, physical-wise. Anybody disagree with this? On the ball, especially at Stamford Bridge, who do you think will dominate that midfield battle between both midfields?
Well, if Declan Rice isn't fit, then I think Chelsea will. But I think I'm intrigued, and I think this is what we're going to be discussing most when it comes to midfield, is whether or not Arteta allows Caicedo and Lavia to have the ball, or if you do press high.
I don't think it's a choice.
Yeah, but if say they do, I think Arteta has an option, because if he presses high and realizes that Lavia and Caicedo are able to play through the press pretty easily, like they showed against Liverpool and even Manchester United at times, then I think Arteta might go, do you know what? There's just no point allowing them to play through the press like that, because it will just keep cutting us open. If we move ourselves a little bit deeper and force them to play through us, that game becomes a lot more difficult for them. Hence why I think Manchester United did that in the second half, and Lavia actually got taken off because his press resistance almost become ineffective because Manchester United stopped pressing him in the second half. And then they brought Enzo Fernandez on. And I wonder whether or not that might happen. If they believe...
Go ahead.
I was only going to say, if Arteta believes that it isn't worth his time pressing those players because they're that press resistant, and there's two of them, so it's almost symmetrical on either side of the pitch, I think he may then say, let's retreat 10 yards, let them have the ball, and see what they can create, because we all know that Chelsea have struggled this season when a team's forced Chelsea to create opportunities.
Which is, I think that's what Arteta should do. When I was watching Lavia and Caicedo over the past 3, 4, 5 games, Chelsea players play them the ball even with the opposition within 1 or 2 yards away from them, which is pretty impressive. Do you know who was like that in the season when Arsenal were going for that run until Partey, and it's Thomas Partey was that guy at Arsenal. Thomas Partey used to receive the ball even with the opposition having a yard. Rodry is that guy. What you said, Dan, is so key, is that Chelsea have 2 of these guys, not 1. Lavia and Caicedo, Chelsea players, any defender, any winger, any fullback at Chelsea, trust these guys blindly. As long as they ask for the ball, we'll pass them the ball. And that they're so press resistant, it's unbelievable. And I think they're going to be the same against Arsenal. And that is why Arteta needs to find a different way of pressing them. Because if these 2 receive the ball in the midfield and they turn, they're facing the Arsenal defense wide open because everyone is pressing high, because Arsenal press was 5 or 6 players.
Well, that's
and
where,
I don't know what the solution is. Right.
Well, that's where whether or not Declan Rice plays is going to be huge. If there's one player in the league that is elite at nipping in and winning the ball,
Mhm.
it is Declan Rice at reading that pass. If he's given that opportunity against Lavia and Caicedo, he's the kind of guy that is gonna win the ball. So yeah, I think it's huge whether or not he plays. I mean, we've not seen Partey, Marino, Odegaard as a midfield anyway, so it's difficult to know exactly how it would function. But yeah, I think we desperately need Rice.
It's a massive tactical game, and on paper, Arteta should win this game. More experience, more time with the team. He has Odegaard back. To be honest with you, I'm looking at this game and I'm like, this is your bread and butter, Arteta. Like, if you don't set up tactically right, you have completely lost the plot. I'm not saying he set up wrong against Inter that much. Trossard didn't press well. But if Maresca gets the best, go ahead, Rory.
I'm just not sure that Martin Odegaard's going to have as much of an impact as in terms of. I'm not convinced he can even
play.
Start.
Why? He came on against Inter. He must be fit.
But he played 4 minutes, and that was the first 4 minutes of football he's played in like 9 weeks.
Yeah, but so what is that? I think he can start it. Like,
Did he look sharp? Rory, in 4 minutes?
He looks so sharp.
Relatively, yeah. But it's more about whether or not you've got the stamina, the match fitness to maybe you can do the first 60 minutes, I guess. But when a player's been out for that long, they normally try and ease them back in to avoid any like muscle strains or anything like that. Because that's the last thing you want is for them to be out for longer. So I think it is the sort of game where we might just take the gamble and risk it. But
do you take the risk before an international break? Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I think. He's not in the Norway squad anyway. So that's the same with Declan Rice.
This is the last chance for Arsenal. If Arsenal lose this game, season might be over in November. For the league season, it might be over in November.
How many points behind would they be if Liverpool won?
10.
10.
If we lose, Liverpool win with 10 points behind.
Okay,
and if you win,
that's quite a lot, isn't it?
Exactly.
but not even that. We'd also be, if City win, we'd also be 8 points behind City. So it's not even like you're.
Do you know that's what Thierry Henry said, Rory, right? That's what, Thierry Henry, when he was talking to the Carragher and the CBS, he said, it happened before that you can catch 10 points. But he also alluded to what Rory said. It is impossible to catch two teams when you're that much behind. You can gamble on one falling apart, but you cannot build your season based on two teams falling apart together to catch up with both teams. And it's very hard, and it never happened, in my opinion. I think
and not to rub it in Rory's face or anything, but also if you were to lose,
but you'd
be behind Chelsea by 3 points.
Wait, what?
It's really? But he are
3 or 4. 3. You're tied
on the level. We're both on 18.
Yeah.
So
3 behind
points.
you.
Which
fucking 4 points behind Nottingham Forest.
Yeah,
well,
and if Forest beat Newcastle, like all of a sudden you have to go look at Arteta.
That's actually crazy. After
I know you're obviously way more calm, Rory, than most, but there must be some sort of doubt in your mind if you're sitting in. I mean, someone said to me, by the time we play, you could be. I think Lee Judges said to me, you could be 9th by the time you kick off.
Yeah, we could be.
Yeah. So if
do you want to let's do the reality. Okay. Let's do the real what you expect more likely to happen then in this. Let's do Spurs play Ipswich. What is the more likely to happen?
Spurs win.
Spurs win. Villa against Liverpool at home. Liverpool wins. It's Anfield, so the more likely outcome. Yeah, anything can happen. Yeah. Manchester Forest play Newcastle. Where they play? Home or away? Home. What is the more likely outcome?
Draw.
A draw, in my opinion. Manchester City, Brighton. What is the more likely outcome?
Brighton win. Draw.
Brighton win. We'll talk about that game. Brighton win 100%, in my opinion.
I can't say that, so I'll say draw.
But the more likely outcome, you're a rational. This is the rational league. I know that you back your team and everything.
Hold that. I'm not predicting City to lose.
We'll talk about that game because I think it's one of the most intriguing games, to be honest. I can't wait for Saturday. Arsenal at that point will be behind Chelsea, behind Spurs, behind Brighton, ahead of Villa.
They could also be behind Fulham, Bournemouth as well.
No, they won't be behind Fulham because Fulham have one goal difference. It's impossible unless you're expecting Chelsea to smash Arsenal by 5.
And Fulham need to win like 3-0 against Palace or something. Like, it's possible.
So Arsenal will be 7th at that time because they're still ahead of Aston Villa. So they will drop 2 spots.
Conference League, isn't it?
It's Conference League is good for
There
them.
you go. That's all right.
If
can
Arsenal are
win
in
that.
seventh,
You can
going
build
into
the
the
European
international-
heritage there. You know what I mean?
If they're in seventh going into the international break, the whole international break will be filled with talk of Arsenal fans losing their mind that Arteta might have to go. Because when just looking at the league table, seeing your team in seventh when you're in a title race, just might throw people.
I don't
into
think you
like-
can see at the title race at that time.
Yeah, but they started the season in one, and up until today,
Yeah.
we're talking about them being in a title race. Now,
It's not
have
good for
to-
the league, by
they
the
might
way.
have-
guys.
yeah,
It's
but
not good for
at
the
the same
league.
time, if they win, they will be.
Yeah,
potentially
let's
third
look at it.
place.
Look at it positively. We could be in
Yeah.
third, 2 points behind City, 4 points behind Liverpool if they both lose, and we've got a really nice run coming up.
What
So
is the more
that's-
likely outcome, Rory, of that game? Without
Well, this-
you said that Odegaard is not going to start. What is the more likely outcome of Chelsea versus Arsenal at Stamford Bridge? With Chelsea having everyone fit, by the way.
Draw.
I know
A draw.
a draw.
If
In my-
neither Odegaard or Rice start, a draw. If Odegaard and Rice both start, if we gamble, just whatever. If Rice has got a broken big toe, he's not going to play. But if any of the other toes, just wrap them up and give him some paracetamol. It'll be fine.
Any other toe, right? Is fine. He
You
has
don't
to
need the
play.
others, do you? So if they can both play, then
love
I
this,
predict
I
us to
love
win.
I'm with you, but in this game, okay, you know what? It's actually it's unfair to Chelsea though, which is I want to speak about from Chelsea's perspective. I mean, guys, it's about 650 people here, and we aren't even on 200 likes. So hit that like button, people, before you enjoy the show. Big up everybody that is here. Hit that like button, guys. Let's get the likes up. Ethan has to start. He's hungry and he's intent. And he has intent. Development argument went out the window. He's been thrown on in non-optimal situations already. Play him. Everyone. The problem is everyone agrees with this, but Arteta. Arteta's the only one that doesn't agree with this. So it's actually crazy. It's actually crazy that Arteta. Thank you, Dal Score for the super chat. He has to play if Odegaard doesn't. You know what? It's unfair to Chelsea when I was about to say that everyone talking about from Arsenal's perspective, not from Chelsea's perspective. What if Chelsea lose at home to Arsenal? Is that
Okay,
all right?
okay.
Like, is that just okay? In this situation, by the way. And I want to hear Chelsea fans' opinions.
I don't know, to be honest. I think if you'd have looked at this set of fixtures and said that Chelsea would drop points to away at Anfield and potentially lose to Arsenal for two teams that are in the title race, I think most Chelsea fans with a rational head on could have gone, look, it's not great, but understandably those two teams are ahead of us. The fact that it might be that we come out of these four fixtures that we've had in this gap between international breaks with only 4 points, if that's the case, then I think that makes it look a lot worse, because ultimately I don't think 4 points would have been enough out of those games. To be honest with you, one win against Newcastle and a draw against Manchester United, it's not great. So I don't know. I think it all depends on the type of performance that is put in, and that will see, like, Chelsea fans will see what we're about. If we just roll over and let Arsenal win that game, or Maresca does something tactically that doesn't work, I think Chelsea fans will start to question why he keeps risking it in the biggest games. Like, win the biggest games and experiment with tactical changes or ideas in games against lesser opposition, but make sure you're playing your strongest team in the biggest games, I think. So I think that could be something that's put into question. But look, it's going to be a tough game, whatever. And I think out of the four, it was probably the one Chelsea fans looked at and went,
And I actually disagree a little bit with you, and I want to hear other guys' opinions on this. I actually think the result is very important for Chelsea in this game. Performance out of the window at this current moment for you. Who cares? Just win the game against Arsenal, one way or the other. Get the 3 points, be ahead of them on the table.
I get that, Mo, but if you asked if we lost, how important would it be?
It's absolutely a disaster for you in this situation where Arsenal are.
Yes, in terms of not getting 3 points.
I'm not patting Chelsea on the back then, to be honest, this time. Chelsea in this Arsenal team who are not in a good form, who are in distress at the current moment, who are being criticized heavily, coming to Stamford Bridge, where you just beat Noah 8, and you are having all your players and Palmer is fit. I think Chelsea must beat Arsenal. Maybe a draw will be acceptable if you are the better team on the pitch. But if you are the worst team on the pitch and you get a draw in these circumstances, and that's not me, it's not me. I'm not saying anything against Arsenal, but in this current moment, Chelsea should beat Arsenal.
I think it's
At
the best
Stamford
chance
Bridge.
we've had in a couple of seasons.
Thank you.
To,
That's it.
to get
That's
a
what I'm
result
saying.
against Arsenal.
That's it.
I mean a win at home. I
Thank
don't know. I don't know if I was answering it in terms of a loss, and if Chelsea do lose, I think a lot of weight will be put on what the performance is like. You know, if we put in a solid performance and we lose, I think it won't be accepted, but it would be like, okay, we are really closing that gap between Arsenal and Chelsea. But at the same time, if Chelsea win it and we do it in a scruffy fashion and it gets us 3 points, then obviously there's not one Chelsea fan that will go, oh, that wasn't the best way to play football. You know, sometimes you do have to adapt for certain games, but I'm not sure Maresca will adapt. I think he'll try and win it in a way that he's set his team up to play.
I think a narrative will start building. If you don't win, especially if you lose, I think a narrative will start building that you go, in terms of like big 6 games, City lost, Liverpool lost, United drew, Arsenal lost or drew.
Yeah.
Like, I think that will start growing because, like, okay, it's not all about Arsenal or Arteta, but like, even when Arteta came in right at the start and had a horrific team, the first big thing that like encouraged me was that he managed to start finding awful 1-0 wins against Chelsea or United or whoever. So that will start building. But
I think, although that's obviously such a small sample size, I think Arteta probably showed from the get-go that he's able to be way more pragmatic than I think Maresca's shown that he's willing to be. I think Maresca's shown, in albeit a small sample size, but also with Leicester, he's shown that he's got one system and one system only, and he's not willing to change that for any game. And if his way of football doesn't get him the result, then he'll obviously, I don't know, presume that the players didn't execute the game plan well enough. I would think, to be honest with you, rather than think I should have changed how I set up then.
Let me ask Nobbins. Nobbins, do you think Arsenal are there for the taking for Chelsea?
No.
Did I hear him, or is it my headphones?
He said no.
Depends how
thank you for the content.
Depends how they set up, doesn't it? It's not as simple as just either that. In theory, they are, because if they lose, then they'll have lost 3 in a row. But I don't expect Arteta to be a fool. So
looking at the Arsenal now in the current circumstances versus Chelsea in the current circumstances, if you would pick a team to win this game,
Chelsea.
Would you pick Chelsea or Arsenal? Or a draw? You said a draw. You said a draw.
To clarify though,
but you said if I had to pick a winner,
aren't much better.
Yeah, if you had to pick one. Sorry, I think my headphones, it's a new ones, and I'm like, they're in your first word I don't hear for some reason.
This guy. No, I think it's going to be a draw. But if you said if I had to pick a winner, then I'd edge it to Chelsea.
That's the whole point. You know, guys, it's not
a draw.
It might be. It's I think the more likely outcome, especially with Rice being out. This is my opinion, by the way. Everyone's opinion here is individual.
Chelsea's current situation, how vastly different is that to Arsenal's? I'm not suggesting
because you're playing at home.
Yeah, but Chelsea have drawn to Nottingham Forest at home, like one of our more.
But Nottingham Forest are not Arsenal. Nottingham Forest defense is better than Arsenal.
Won, but Newcastle was a really difficult fixture to navigate, and we managed to win it 2-1.
Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
You're trying to paint that Nottingham Forest are a bigger task than Arsenal.
No. To be
no. I don't think you understand the point.
But they
defensively, yes, they set up defensively much deeper than you.
It's a different problem, and that might make it a trickier problem. In fairness.
Like for Chelsea, I think breaking down Arsenal, if Arsenal are going to press them, it's easier than if they go play at Nottingham Forest and they defend with 11 players with everyone in the 18, which is something that Chelsea struggle with. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
It's a tougher task for them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Forest are better side than you, even though they're ahead of you on the table. But defensively, they conceded less goals. By the way, Nottingham Forest are one of the toughest teams to break this season.
Oh, great.
This is just a fact. And Chelsea struggled against them. It was very obvious, right? Liverpool struggled against them. So I'm not saying that. So for me, this is why I'm analyzing this. I'm like, yes, Chelsea are coming from a bad. Chelsea haven't won in 3 games, just for people just to know. They've lost 2 and drew 1.
We beat Newcastle at home.
And the mighty Noah.
Yeah, well,
yes, you beat Newcastle. Yes, you beat Newcastle in the middle. Yeah, before that, yes.
Yeah, well, you're right. You
had 1 win in 4, so it's Arsenal haven't won in 3. It's my point about this game is very simple. I'm looking at a team playing at home, galvanized to win against title contenders Arsenal. Chelsea aren't in crisis. No one is looking at Chelsea and thinking, well, this is your last chance or this is a crisis. So the players are going to this game very calm. The bench just scored 8 against Noah. Whatever you think is, they're happy. The squad is happy. Morale is high. No questions. Right? Arsenal going into this game. Number one, as Rory said, which is we're taking the information about Arsenal from Rory, our Rational League panelist. We don't know if Rice is going to play or not.
There's some new news on that, by the way. Arteta's just done his press conference. If you want the latest.
Which toe is it?
Go ahead.
Arteta. Well, so he said on Rice. He said he hasn't.
Which
the
toe?
Rice. He hasn't trained yet, and it's not clear if he'll be able to play. I have to be very vague on that one because there's absolutely no clarity if he'll be fit for the weekend. He hasn't trained yet, and it's not clear if he'll be able to. So no idea about Rice. On Odegaard, everybody in the squad will be fit and available to start the game. Then it will be a decision on whether or not they start the game.
Right, so he'll be on the bench.
So,
Okay.
possibly. And then on Havertz and Marino, we have to wait and see how they react. Kai had a nasty cut to the head, so we had to take him off. With Mikel, he wasn't feeling great, so we had to sub him at halftime.
Yeah, they'll start as well.
So,
That's my interpretation.
well, the Kai Havertz one's slightly
Nobins is a lawyer here. He's interpreting everything he says psychologically.
You do have to try. There is like a kind of language guide for understanding Mikel Arteta in a press conference. So if he says they're not going to be available,
You guys know that I
assume
don't think that
probably
Kai
will be.
Havertz will start, actually.
Why?
Did you see the cut?
Yeah, that's what I'm
It's
saying.
not,
I'm
by the way,
concerned about that.
Nobins, go and watch the cut. It's
It was
nasty.
bleeding.
It's actually
Anthony,
nasty.
I saw Wayne Rooney have a headband thing.
That's Wayne Rooney,
at
not
the
Kai
Etihad.
Havertz. That's Wayne Rooney.
Kai Havertz will fight through the pain and wear the
I
headband.
think he
or
will.
whatever.
Yeah, I think that'll
Didn't
just
Wayne
stay
Rooney
there.
play with a broken nose like for the rest of the game, like 50 minutes or something in the Premier League game? That's
Kai
Wayne
Havertz is
Rooney.
that kind of guy, especially against Chelsea. He fucking hates Chelsea.
There you go.
He'll play through.
Oh, yeah. I hope that Kai Havertz plays. You have no other option. Well, I'm not going to sit here and see Gabriel Jesus and Trossard up top, bro.
Mo,
We're not doing that, Rory. We're not
I
watching
agree.
the game.
No,
We're
he'll
Jesus and Trossard
He'll
up
score a
top.
header and then he'll rip off the headband. He'll be like Terry Butcher back in the 90s. and
Yeah.
blood
Nobbins, I was
pouring.
going to say this. You probably know this, but I don't know if Mo will. An old Man City goalkeeper played in the FA Cup final with a broken neck.
Yeah, big up Bert Troutman, man.
Yeah.
Big him up. I mean, won that bloody final as well, 1954, I think it
Yeah.
was.
I don't know.
Shout
I
out.
don't know that.
You plastic, you
know.
don't know City's
I don't know
German
City's-
broken neck goalkeeper. That's
In the
not good enough.
50s. In the
Yeah.
50s.
Post-war era.
Come on, broken neck's pretty brave, isn't it?
Yeah, that is
just-
kind of
It's-
that is kind of
it's so
hardcore.
brave.
That is
To be
kind of
fair,
metal.
It is.
That's
It is,
metal.
but it's
Nick
also
is
not because he
crazy.
definitely didn't know that he'd broken his neck. If the doctor
You
had
are
gone, you've
not
got a
going to
broken
try
neck.
and downplay Bert
I am.
Troutman's
I
breaking
am.
his neck.
No, you won't.
If someone told him you've got a broken neck, do you want to carry on? He'd probably have said no. So
No,
I
because
just
there were
think
no
he didn't know he had a
substitutions
broken
back
neck.
then, so he would have been down to 10 men with no keeper. He wouldn't
Yeah, I
have come
don't
off.
think he knew he had a broken neck personally.
But if he did, he's not going to let his team down, is he? There's no subs.
Well,
Yeah,
It
that
wasn't
was back in the
parallel,
day.
was it?
No, some
Bloody
for like
Don,
one
bloody
sub,
Don
wasn't
Revy would have had to go in goal.
Let me do a couple of these super chats because they're related. Let's be serious. Last season, Chelsea beat Arsenal. Last season, Chelsea beat Arsenal.
I thought it was
Huh?
2-2.
we drew 2-2 at Stamford Bridge, and you got absolutely
Yeah, I was gonna
hammered.
say,
Well,
well,
Chelsea
not
got
at the end.
battered by 5 goals in the second half of the season.
Not at
Easily.
the bridge. Not at the bridge.
Not at the
it's
very
goals,
at the
isn't it?
Emirates.
Yeah.
It
No,
was
not
two-
When
last
was the last?
season.
When was the last time Chelsea even beat us?
At the bridge, 18.
Yeah, but just in general, I
2018.
can't remember the last time Chelsea beat us.
I don't know that.
I don't know, but
Ahmed Salaman is looking at the sporting directors if we lose. Why? The lack of leadership and experience is losing us points in big games, and it goes back to recruitment. Dan, do you agree with this?
Potentially, yeah. I think that's a fair point. I do think there'll be question marks asked around if we get to the end of the season or even January, and like Rory said, we're struggling in bigger games. Then I think there'll be questions asked about whether or not this, if it's losses on players showing a lack of inexperience, I think that discussion will start to have and carry more weight. You know, if it looks if
ghosting another
we're
big game.
losing the game and the mistakes aren't because of lack of experience or the experience that was there in the game didn't really make a difference in terms of the result, I don't think that will carry much weight. But yeah, if it's inexperienced players making inexperienced mistakes, and it's obvious that's what it is, and it's young players not dealing with the occasion, and an inexperienced manager not being able to navigate these type of fixtures, then absolutely, yeah, we can have that discussion for sure, because it's definitely something to worry about.
Arsenal help is Sanchez being fool and a bozo. Let me just tell you something. Go ahead, Rory.
No, well, I was just going to say that if you think back to Chelsea's 2 goals in that game, one of them was Mudryk absolutely shanking across and lobbing Raya, and the other one was a penalty that by this season's rules wouldn't have been a penalty.
Great finish by Cole.
You know,
your goal was Raya passing the ball to Declan Rice.
Sanchez passed the ball to Declan Rice, yeah. And then the winner was a very good goal. But to suggest that Arsenal somehow got lucky when both of Chelsea's goals were an absolute nonsense and they created nothing else in the game, I just think, a draw was a fair result.
If memory serves, Chelsea were the better team that day, though.
Yes, on the pitch,
First half, yeah. But they actually didn't create much, even though they were the better team.
Chelsea
you need to create a lot if you 2-0 up?
No. But you do need to shore up defensively.
The problem is, I don't see...
No doubt.
If Odegaard doesn't play, I don't see where Arsenal score goals, to be honest. But we'll talk about this in a second. Sanchez, still in goal, must give you nightmares then.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't have fast hands. He is he's a nightmare, and honestly, I feel like every game there is something waiting. Like I've just seen today that he got Premier League Save of the Month, but the whole reason he had to make that save was because he gave the ball away to the Nottingham Forest kid.
That's high IQ.
It is, yeah, because he was like playing for the.
He was eyeing the prize. He's eyeing the prize.
Look, he's a goalkeeper that needs a lot of work. Maresca keeps coming out saying he's got full trust in him. They believe he can be one of the best in the world.
That's all he has, because what is the other guy's name is shit.
Next month, he turns 27. So I don't know what point.
In his prime.
Yeah, I don't know
like
what
not
point.
even prime goalkeeping, Dan. Just give the guy a break.
But this isn't a young keeper, is it?
That's exactly it, Nobbins, right?
Yeah.
Like we had Courtois below this age, and it was obvious that he was going to go on to be an unbelievable keeper. I haven't seen much in Sanchez, apart from athletically, that suggests to me that he's going to be an unbelievable keeper, because I'm not sure the IQ's there.
That is the play. Are you talking about like what we do if Odegaard doesn't play? Genuinely, we keep a clean sheet and just redeem the Sanchez free gift, win 1-0. Every game there's a Sanchez free gift. You just got to wait for it.
You should go get like Trafford, because you love getting City Academy players, and he's one. He's there.
Do you know what? I think we were linked with him.
Probably.
I think we were. I think
he's
Cole
good with his
Palmer.
feet.
He's good mates or something, and there was a link.
You can buy Jan Sommer for like 40. He's only 34. All right.
I just don't believe Chelsea will recruit another goalkeeper because of the amount of money we've spent on goalkeepers already.
You must.
Do you know what? Although we played Noah last night and they weren't great, I actually felt like Jorgensen probably had his best game for Chelsea last night. Like
against Noah, though.
Yeah, I know that, but in terms of the risk that he took with the ball and just the save, he did have to make a few saves. And they were good saves, and they were pushed away a good distance, and it felt a lot calmer. And I have to say that when you've got players like Badashile in your defence who are very capable of making mistakes, Dazassi as well, he definitely added a bit of calmness to that defence.
Gerard in the chat saying, Kelleher, 40 million for Kelleher. Your problem solved.
That's actually...
We've actually just bought a goalkeeper from Belgium for another like 30 million or something called like Penders.
Another Gui, another player that nobody.
Now look, Mark Gee scored last night.
Oh, that's a good goal, to be honest with you. Yeah. A big up, W's for my guy AMD for dropping the 20p. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Aboudi Habibi, thank you so much. I fully backed Arteta since the beginning, but this season has caused me to question his abilities as a manager. I'm currently on the fence, but Arteta has lost a large amount of my trust. If I'm being honest, I hope we come back. Do you guys believe that it's warranted that people... Okay, I'm going to give you names that you guys... I don't know if you guys know who these people are. Some people know, some people don't. Do you know Dawood, Rory? TikToker?
Who?
That's content?
Dowd. What's his name?
Dawood, yeah?
Yeah, Dowd. Yeah, Dowd.
Yeah.
Dawood said on HUSAM, by the way, I've done work with Dawood for like 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
He's never done anything but back in the club on Arteta. And he said if he loses to Chelsea, he's Arteta out.
Yeah.
Me and HUSAM did the names yesterday. Dawood, Saad, Martin, I'm not sure if you know Martin who's on my channel, and you said you. If these 4 people turn on Arteta, not Sad, someone else, I think it's in the game for him. For Arteta,
if I've turned on Arteta, then it's.
To be honest with you, the 3 guys is you, Dawood, and Martin. Bro, Martin, the Australian that comes on my channel, my friend, he's like fully behind Arteta. You have no idea. Like he believes that Arteta brought Arsenal back from the trenches, and if he turns and you turn, I think it's game over.
This man is not for turning. I'm so far away from turning on Arteta. I am. It's not even in my. It's not even a thought in my mind of turning on Arteta. So we've got a long while to wait before.
Egal as well. Egal. We said egal. So people
out
are
of
saying
interest,
egal.
Rory, what is going to be the straw that breaks your back?
Honestly, I would give him, even if we fall apart this season, I'd still give him next season. If he couldn't turn it around next season, then that would be it.
Okay, so what if Slot wins the title?
Makes no difference. Consecutive seasons of... Yeah, because what Slot doesn't actually affect... If Arteta struggles this season, it's irrelevant who actually does well. For me, consecutive seasons of regression would be the turning point.
So even if you finish outside of top 4, you'd back him?
Yeah.
With a 5-0 loss at the weekend?
No. What? Even if you finish outside of the Champions League and you don't play Champions League next...
I don't think we are going to finish outside the Champions League, so it's not really something I'm contemplating, but...
if it happened, Rory, like no ifs and buts or maybes, say get to the 38 games, you finish 5th, and England's team doesn't get in from 5th.
Yeah, I'd stick with them.
The reason why I bring up Slot is just because whenever we've discussed this, like whether it was earlier in the season or last season, it's always been it's not Arteta's fault because he's up against Pep. It's not reasonable to beat Pep.
Well,
but
yeah,
if
I agree.
New manager comes in from the Dutch league, wins it in his first season ahead of Pep. Does that not put that?
It'd be immensely frustrating. It would be immensely frustrating because ultimately it would be, Pep has not fallen off, but Pep City have had an off season, and we weren't there to capitalize on it, which would be immensely frustrating. But it's like you can't pick and choose the season where you also have your own problems. So it would like, don't get me wrong, would be immensely frustrating.
Self-inflicted problems, I would contend.
Ish.
Squad build. Rory, you said earlier, poor squad building. You said that's on Arteta.
I agree, but equally, is Liverpool's squad built perfectly? You wouldn't find out until they got injuries, right? So it's difficult.
No, but
if Konate and Van Dijk both got injured for a significant period of time at the same time, you'd go, well, they didn't build the squad to have enough centre backs.
But that's 2 players, not 1.
Even if Van Dijk gets it, if Van Dijk was out for the next 2 or 3 months,
same. If Saliba and Gabriel get injured at the same time, I think you're done.
Yeah,
I think you're done. Everyone. If Haaland only gets injured for City, they're done already.
Also, Odegaard's not out for the season. Like, this isn't a Rodry situation.
But I'm saying he's missed what, nearly 3 months, two and a bit months. He's
missed 7 games, hasn't he? That's 7.
That's not a lot.
7 Premier League games out of 10 is a fair. As it stands, he's missed 70%.
Sure, but if it's 7 out of 38.
Well, yeah, that's different. I fully expect this. This is why I fully expect us to turn it around, which is what. But you're putting me in a position where I'm contemplating us somehow dropping out.
I'm giving you a hypothetical. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would still back Arteta to turn it around. I would. He's consistently shown he learns from his lessons. I think he's gone overboard. The biggest criticism I would say is that he's gone overboard. He's overcooked it, going for big physical dual winning players. I think he realized in the 22-23 season we got bullied a bit by Man City, and that was our weakness. There were a few games towards the end when Newcastle drew 0-0 with us. There were times where we got bullied physically. He overcooked it, trying to fix that problem, and I think abandoned the need to have small space technical players. I would back him to correct that problem. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay. Sorry, final bit. What if...
No, go ahead. I'm with you.
What if that... So let's say Odegaard fit the whole
As long as I'm not
season
questioning the Arteta, because I'm the one who's getting accused all the time. Why mood to bring it up? I didn't. No offense, guys.
So now Odegaard finishes the whole season. You finish, below City and Liverpool, wherever. Slot wins the league. And Arteta says in the summer, I'm happy with the squad.
Yeah, then we've got big problems. But I know Arteta isn't happy with the current squad anyway. We know.
Okay,
We know
he's not
Arteta's
happy with the squad, and he brings in, another Declan Rice sort of profile. He doesn't actually bring in another small space player. He sends Ethan in the area out on loan.
Well, yeah, no, that at that point, I'd give him the first few games of the season, but that would be it.
Okay.
If it let him try and turn it around. But,
Sure.
But yeah, no. I to be fair, if that happened, I would fully understand people being Arteta out. I wouldn't have right now. I don't understand people that are Arteta out. At that point, I would understand it. I just wouldn't be that way myself. Dan, you're on me.
I was just saying that actually makes sense. I get you'd understand why people could be Arteta out at that point.
Yeah, like someone just said though, if I can address it, it's his squad. How is he not happy? Because whilst it is his squad, we know for a fact that he wanted Benjamin Sesko and has wanted other strikers. We know for a fact he wanted Nico Williams. Before that, he wanted Mudryk. So there are clearly two positions at least that he has wanted to address. But I read a thing in The Athletic yesterday that said, Calafiori was our very first signing of the summer. And it turns out Edu, and remember that Calafiori deal dragged on for a while. And it turned out Edu had actually agreed a deal for it. And the higher ups at the club wanted us to make a big sale before we pulled the trigger on Calafiori to balance the books. And that was the first signing of the summer. So I do think that there are clearly problems where we don't have the money or they're not willing to spend the money to really go for it.
You know who you're echoing, Rory? Mark Goldbridge went on a podcast and said that. He said, why is everyone on Arteta's neck? Guy cannot compete financially with Man City. He's trying to build a squad. There's a lot of players in that squad that are not big buys, like Man City players. He said the Sakas, the Martinelli, the Salibas, the Gabriel, they're not big buys. They are players that he developed. Even Raya is not developed. You know what I mean? Odegaard is not a big buy. Odegaard's career was almost done. You remember, his loan to Sociedad.
Yeah.
And he's like, there is no real reason why you be Arteta. And I get it. He might be going overboard. My problem with this and the argument against this from most point of view is that I think that Arteta has a squad at the current moment or a team that should be winning and playing better football than what I'm seeing this season. I think Arsenal should be that last 18 games last season when you won 16, drew 1 and lost 1. And that draw was against City. You know that is Arsenal's level. And I'm not saying you're going to have both sides of the season like that. But Arsenal now at the current moment are a 90-plus point team. And it's down to his work. So if he regresses, I think now I might give the squad to someone else. That someone else can be an Amorim, can be an Inzaghi, can be a Xabi Alonso, someone. Just to try. Not because he's bad, Arteta, but because maybe you ran out of ideas. Maybe we need to try something else. That something else, by the way, might be worse, Rory. I'm not saying that there's no guarantees in football. But sometimes you need to try something else, especially if you regress, Rory. Big clubs work like this.
I kind of agree. But again, we're witnessing Pep struggling to find a solution for losing Rodry. All right, I know Rodry is for a season and Odegaard wasn't for a season. But so far, Pep has had several games to adapt to that and has struggled to. Arteta struggled to adapt to Odegaard. I think if any manager had 3 players sent off in 3 different games where Arteta isn't in control of those sending offs. He's not coached them to do that, but he's got to deal with that. Again, I don't put that particularly on him. That's individual mistakes. How many more points would we be on simply without those 3 red cards and without the Odegaard injury? I think it would be a very different picture, which is why I'm giving him plenty of time. And I think once we go on a big run, if we can get some sort of stability, that's the other thing. It's just there's been no ability to build any momentum.
Yeah, but that's why Nobin's. Yeah, but that's why Nobin's question, Rory, that's why Nobin's and Dan's questions were not.
Yeah.
If you go on a run, Dan's question is you got Arteta back now. What if you finish outside the top 6? Nobin said he's out only 7 games. What if the rest of the season we are with you? Okay, if Arteta turns around, no one in the world have the right to say, "Oh, Arteta out," because I think it would be stupid. If the guy gets Odegaard back and turns it around and you start going on runs and win 15, 16 games, and now you're on 90-something points, nobody's going to say, and you go win a cup or go a Champions League semi-final or a quarter-final. No one's going to say Arteta out. The questions are, if this form continues, and if I'm understanding Nobin's question correctly, is that you have Odegaard back. If this form continues and Arne Slot wins the league, questions have to be asked because he would have done the opposite of what you said, which is turn it around and fix it, right?
Yeah, I think I would be worried if we went through the rest of the season with minimal number of injuries, minimal level of controversy, and we were just struggling, even with our best or close to our best team, to play good football. At that point, I would be worried. I'd still probably give him a summer.
I think that was the question, but
yeah, but again, I'd still probably give him a summer to try and fix that problem.
see, even I'm going to tell you, come on. First of all, Kingsley, Chelsea going nowhere with that fool in goal. I think in January, Chelsea need to buy a center back and a goalkeeper to be in January right away. Like just sell Enzo Fernandez and just get somebody else. That is the case, Kingsley. You need a goalkeeper as soon as possible. Listen, Hybrid Ultra is one of the Arteta ends, like all falling. Even if fans like Hybrid Ultra are saying he's firmly Arteta in, but if Slot wins it, liquidate Arsenal, that means they won't accept it. Fans won't accept that Liverpool winning the league before Arsenal with a new manager.
I wouldn't accept
Controversy,
it.
You wouldn't, Nobins. I wouldn't.
No,
I
because
wouldn't.
I'd have like the credit of, well, it's Pep. It's always hard, but if that happens again, it sort of blows that argument out of the window.
Do you think if we had gone, Rory? Sorry, I was going to say, do you think if we had replaced Arteta this summer, we would currently be fighting with Liverpool at the top?
No.
Kind of question,
I think Liverpool
no, that's a very unknown thing. Dan, I'm sorry, that's an unknown thing. Why not?
I think Liverpool have got a better team. I genuinely, I was looking at their team the other day and I was thinking, bar one centre back, I'd probably take the majority of Liverpool's players over the majority of what Arsenal have got.
It's not. No, based on what? Based on what you see. But that's our point. You're basing it what you see today.
Yeah,
not based on what we saw.
I actually think we are okay.
This is very important. Then, are you basing it on today, or you're basing it on season started? I think you're taking more Arsenal players based on the end of last season than Liverpool players.
I'll be honest. I didn't think Slot was going to have Liverpool in this position because of what I didn't know what he was capable of as a manager. I knew what Liverpool's squad were capable of. I actually think it's now obvious to see that for the last couple of seasons, Jurgen Klopp wasn't getting the best out of this Liverpool team, because for them to fall off at the point that they did last season, they probably weren't playing as well as they should. The fact that Gravenberch has sort of fallen into this role and now looks like one of the best centre midfielders in the league, and Klopp couldn't get any tune out of him at all. You know, that sort of strikes me that Klopp had sort of was aware that he was leaving and maybe was just sort of seeing his time out there. I don't think Klopp has got the best out of his Liverpool team for a couple of seasons when you look at it, if I'm being honest with you, because look at these players that are there. They're obviously very good players. I mean, Luis Diaz is having a great season. For the last 2 seasons under Klopp, he's just not been at it. You know, Liverpool fans were calling for him to leave in the summer, and now look, he's scoring goals for fun.
Yeah. I want to shift the gears a little bit to City, because we have to speak about Manchester City, to be honest. I think actually the form that Manchester City are in is what gives fans, Arsenal fans, watch this. What gives Arsenal fans hope. If City were doing good, if City won against Bournemouth, I think Arsenal fans would have been way more out of this season. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been 8 points and it would have been a disaster. But Nobbins,
hello.
Why are you so bad as a team?
We know why. We've been over this many times. We know the reasons why.
Because Pep Guardiola out. That's what I mean.
Yeah, get all fraud out of it.
Pep out.
Yeah, well, that's the difference, though, isn't it? Because Pep's obviously got a ridiculous amount of credit in the bank because he's Guardiola. He's won 4 in a row and he's won the treble. So this is why I'm less.
Is it a failure for City if Liverpool win the title, not Arsenal? Same goes for Arsenal. Same goes for City. To be honest, if you're gonna have that logic for Arsenal, you're gonna have it for City.
Well, I'd like to win the title, so yeah, I guess so.
So but to be honest, if Arne Slot wins the title in this season against City, questions have to be asked
of
individually in this season. To be honest, at least.
But in individuals where?
The
Like the players, you mean, or Pep?
players and Pep and everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't question Pep because, as I say, you can't win the title every season, and he's won 4 in a row. Like, he's already made history there. So I wouldn't, be trying to question Pep. Again, this is not really comparable to the Arteta situation. Again, no disrespect to Arteta, but he's obviously not done what Pep has. So I don't think it's comparable there. The question marks need to be asked about squad building, which we're obviously aware of. We can remedy that in January. There's no, the window will open, and there is a chance for us to redeem ourselves in that respect to squad building, and there's a chance to fix the problems. So that's sort of what I'm hopeful of. I'm very convinced if we don't enter the market in Jan, then we will not win the title. I'm very convinced of that. So that must happen. But we all know the issues with City by now.
What about the defensive problems? Is that down to a midfielder? That's it.
Yeah, definitely. Because if the defense isn't given any support or the requisite support, then they're going to look like bums, aren't they? Like, the best back 4 in the world couldn't deal with 3 attackers running at them consistently throughout a game. It's just not sustainable. We've conceded I think we've conceded the first goal in 5 games this Premier League season. So that's 50% of the games, isn't it? So it's obvious to everyone what the issues are, and we saw it against Sporting as well. I actually
took the lead against Sporting, though.
What's that? Sorry.
You took the lead against Sporting, though.
We did indeed, and that's what I was going to say was so frustrating because that first half, I think that's one of the best first halves we played all season. In all honesty, I don't know if anyone here watched it, but it was really impressive. I thought we were fantastic going forward. It was actually really nice, fluid forward football, which we haven't really seen since like the very maybe like the opening game against Chelsea, for example. I thought it was really good, and then but as is the case, a couple of moments of madness and just switching off. I thought Gvardiol had the worst game I've ever seen him play, not even for City, just for Croatia or RB Leipzig as well. Just moments of madness, and we let them in, and we weren't good enough in the moments. And even when you bottle it, like a couple of minutes into the second half, there's still a chance to come back into the game because you can score a penalty, make it 3-2. You never know what's going to happen. We even miss Haaland misses a penalty. He's got a fantastic penalty record. So that was just one of those games. The Bournemouth one was the one I was more concerned about. And again, the more concerning thing is, Arsenal's problems can be resolved because Odegaard's back now. City's problems can't be resolved outside of signing someone.
You can outscore people. Kevin De Bruyne is back. He's going to try.
No, but
scoring's become an issue.
Yeah, but Kevin De Bruyne is back, and he's better than Odegaard.
But it's nowhere near as big of an issue as the defensive side of things. That's the problem. People saying, De Bruyne will come back and we'll be fine. You can't enter a game of football knowing that you need to score 2 goals. Sometimes you will have to win 1-0.
That's Chelsea, though, to be honest with you. Chelsea in every game now.
Chelsea, but no offense, Chelsea aren't going to compete for the title this season, are they? Let's be realistic here. There's different realities.
I don't know. If Arsenal are in a title race, Chelsea are in one.
Chill.
Oh, especially after Sunday.
Yeah, sometimes you have to.
10 games into last season. Sorry, just 10 games into last season, Tottenham were top of the league, and people going, "Wow, if these lot are in a title race, Tottenham are in a title race." And by Christmas, they were fighting for top 4. So that's.
So you are saying Liverpool can be Spurs?
Not Liverpool, no, bloody Chelsea and Forest.
Chelsea. Oh, okay, and Forest. Okay, Forest, yeah.
They're not in a title race, is what I'm saying.
Watch, HUSAM is here. Ask Nobbins that question. Why don't you just outscore teams and unleash the forwards, winning games like 4-3, Klopp style?
How many leagues did Klopp win?
Klopp style.
How many leagues did Klopp win?
I don't know when. He's a Liverpool fan. HUSAM, you can answer this, you fraud.
The answer's 1.
What?
You're not gonna, you're not going to win league titles with that sort of philosophy.
We said that last season, right? Literally, when Liverpool were top last season, the main thing that a lot of people that didn't believe in Liverpool said was you can't keep conceding 2-3 goals a game and getting away with it. Like, that was the big thing that we all said.
Ferguson said it years ago, and it's been proven right so many times. He said, didn't he, attacks will win you matches, but defense will win you titles. And it's literally bang on. Your defense has to be so good to compete. That's ultimately probably why you didn't win it, Rory, because your defense wasn't as good as City's, right? You competed with them going forward last year. We spoke about it.
Yeah, kind of. But actually, our issue last season was games that we didn't score at all, and that was slightly the problem. Like there were a lot of drop points where we lost like 1-0.
Or games.
I don't want to go back to
where you let
Arsenal,
teams
but
back in.
just when I was watching the Galatasaray Spurs game, I kept thinking if Arsenal had Osimhen up top.
Yeah, he's good, Mo, isn't he? Actually,
He's so good. It's
his movement
unbelievable.
last night, I was so impressed with that. You know, because like he missed a couple of chances.
65 mil, you know.
Yeah, he is constantly in the right place, like constantly in the place he needs to be. He doesn't always connect with the ball in the right way.
We can talk about it another day, but I want to go back to City. Do you know what I was listening to Luke and Tony yesterday on Luke City TV and Martin? And people are talking, a lot of people in the Man City are talking about Gyökeres as Man City need another striker.
Who?
That is kind of strange choice for me. You need a goal-scoring winger. Savinho and Doku, you're massively underperforming.
Who is saying Gyökeres? Who is saying Gyökeres?
Some fans.
I'm not being funny. This is going to sound mental because he scored a hat-trick. He wasn't even that good against us.
No, well, two of his goals were penalties, right?
If people are using that game as like, oh, City need to sign this brilliant striker. Again, no disrespect. I'm sure he's a wonderful footballer, but if that is not the game to use as like the sample size to decide that he's the solution to City, that's madness to me.
He had so much space in behind against City. I just don't, and for Sporting, I just think if he was to move to the Premier League, that space in behind disappears against 90%.
You don't need someone that can play like instead, because you wouldn't play both Haaland and Gyökeres. So you don't need someone. You don't need to go and spend that money on someone that can play instead of Haaland. You need players that can score goals when Haaland
the
is
wing
around Haaland. Yeah, from the wing or from behind him, but.
There is one that plays for a team that challenges for the title but don't win it always. They play right wing. They're very good. England international. They want to go to team that win title. Just have to fork the money out.
They sold him to us for 40 million. What can you do? Yeah.
Bukayo Saka. And they have Kevin De Bruyne. They have Foden. They need Bukayo Saka, to be honest.
No.
Well, a lot of goals have dried up for City this season, though, haven't they? With the missing
in the Premier League, they're obviously Haaland's their top scorer. The second, third, and fourth top scorers are Gvardiol, John Stones, and Kovacic.
That's actually crazy.
Kovacic is mad, by the way, because I barely remember him scoring for Chelsea.
Oh yeah, but again, I'm not really concerned about the offensive work because De Bruyne will come back to it. You know, one of these days, Haaland will put away one of the many chances that Foden's created for him. He should have like 5 assists this season based on chances that Haaland's fluffed.
Are you worried
so far?
He gets injured, by the way? Because he normally picks up some sort of injury most seasons.
What? Who's that? Sorry,
Haaland.
Oh yeah.
Given the lack of goals from any other player in the team,
and the amount
they are finished without Haaland. If Haaland gets injured, they're finished.
Oh no, yeah, well, yeah, of course, yeah, because
without Julian Alvarez, they're finished, bro. They're finished. They have nobody to score.
Yeah,
so you literally have to put Gvardiol up front.
Really? Seriously?
You know what? I reckon it'd be worth a try.
Striker formation, John Stones and Gvardiol up top.
I wouldn't hate Gvardiol at right wing. I reckon he could do a great job there. In fairness,
yeah, I
reckon he could do a wonderful job there.
You're really done yourself with selling Julian Alvarez and not getting anyone to play for Haaland. To be honest,
well, I don't know because I think that Oscar Bob was going to be like people say, "Where's the GA going to come from?" I think that player was Oscar Bob, but he broke his leg. He is a player who will contribute with direct output, I think would be a better fit than Alvarez. And I would like to see us go for like a more fluid system when Haaland isn't in the side. But obviously Bob broke his leg, so obviously you can't really legislate for that. Again,
you know what, Robin? It's such a good point. Like you've had so many injuries this season. Can it actually be classed as failure in terms of Pep and the performance side of things when you're losing that many players that could have been that key to your challenge? Failure in terms of potentially risking it with a smaller squad, yes, but is it failure? No, I don't know if it is. They've had a lot of injuries.
Well, it's not failure.
Well, nobody's cutting anybody some slack in these injuries thing. Colors.
No, really.
Done with because Arsenal, they were labeled bottlers when they had a very small squad and they had to play what's his name at the back when Saliba got injured.
Rob Holding.
I'm not being funny,
Rob Holding.
Because I don't want to bring back up the old Saliba arguments, but what we are not going to do is compare Saliba being out for less than 10 games to a Ballon d'Or winner being out for the entirety of the season. We won't be doing that in the first instance.
Can I give you the difference? Are Saliba to Arsenal at that season, which was in hindsight now, was as important as Rodri to you. They would literally fell apart.
Yeah, and
Completely
that's wonderful.
fell apart.
And that's wonderful. And if Saliba was out for the whole season, maybe I'd have some more sympathy. But
Exactly, but
was
that's I'm not asking you for sympathy at all. I'm not.
But
Saliba allowed.
You want to go there?
Two.
Okay, let me go there. Okay, you want to go there and be. You are one of the richest clubs in the world with a revenue that are almost double Arsenal's revenue. You tried 4 times to get the replacement for the guy that played both 6 and 8, which is Matthias Nunes, Calvin Phillips, Kovacic, and the second coming of Gundogan. And nobody can play that role. It is no one's fault that Pep Guardiola could not develop a player to play the 2 roles after Gundogan left 2 seasons ago. Rodri did not miss a game apart from being on the bench when you already won the season in the treble season 2 seasons ago. This is no one's fault that you spend the money on all these players. That's over 150 million on 120 million, right? On Calvin Phillips and the names I said. And you can't replace Rodri. That's no one's fault. Your manager is relying so much on Rodri and can't replace him. Why is it anyone's fault?
I think you're arguing a point I haven't made.
So I won't cut City some slack because Rodri's injured.
I'm not talking. Whoa. No. That's not what I said. I was taking umbrage with you trying to compare Saliba being out for a few games to Rodri being out for the whole season. That is all I said. I think it was Dan who brought up the whole, could you regard as failure? I didn't say anything.
I actually
like that.
think it's more detrimental is the word that I use. That Saliba was injured the last 8 games or 10 games of the season than Rodri being out early that season, where everyone has been screaming for 2 seasons for Pep Guardiola to find a replacement. He didn't expect Saliba to be out because he's not a player that is an injury prone, which showed to the point that last season he played every minute in the Premier League, every minute. While Rodri have been screaming himself that he needs rest for 2 seasons. So I know that it's an unlucky injury to be out for the rest of the season, but Pep Guardiola has time to recover now. Has so much time to the end of the season. Arsenal were that much ahead. He got injured and there was no time for him to find a replacement. January was not there because it was already February when Saliba got injured. There was 9 games left. Arsenal at that time weren't even that season expected to challenge for the league. Arsenal were 5th the season before. So for them, they found themselves in that situation, right? With Saliba, and when Saliba got injured, okay, I cut you some slack, maybe not, maybe yes. But for Rodri, you yourself in the summer, Nobbins, kept saying, I want Rodri replacement. Maybe Gundogan is the guy. So Rodri's out now for the rest of the season. There's no slack here. It's just reality. Your manager is the best manager in the world. He has to find a solution. You're the richest club out there.
But the thing is, you've already spent over 100 million on solutions for it anyway. So I don't have any sympathy. If Arsenal replaced Saliba with Rob Holding, who we then sold the same summer for £1 million, and he can't even play for Crystal Palace. You've spent over 100 million quid on Rodri replacements, and they've all failed.
I'll repeat because I think Mo keeps trying to put words into my mouth. I'm not trying to.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to. I'm sorry.
I'm not giving anyone slack. What I am saying is that you can't try to compare Saliba's injury to Rodri being out for a season. That is my only argument. I'm not saying that, oh, poor little City, how are we going to win the title now? Because I don't give City excuses like that. There are solutions in-house, which can be short-term, and there are long-term solutions in the window. So I don't know where the idea is that I'm trying to cover up for City or give them slack. I'm providing the context that it's weird to say Pep's under any pressure because he's won 4 in a row in the treble.
Yeah, of course he's not under pressure, even if he comes 4th. You know.
All I am saying is that you can't compare Rodri being out, Ballon d'Or winner, Rodri, when the window's closed as well, being out for the entirety of the season compared to Saliba being out for some games towards the end of.
But I actually disagree
season.
with you, Nobbins. So I think it's actually worse. The Saliba injury is worse than Rodri being out for the rest of the season.
Okay, well, I just
and I explained my point about this, that Saliba for Arsenal at that time, there was no time to recover. There was no window coming for them to recover. The squad is much smaller than City. He didn't have time to find a replacement for Saliba. And Saliba was, in hindsight, as important to Arsenal as Rodri important to City.
Yeah, well, I just fundamentally.
If you disagree with any point of this, that's fine.
No, yeah, I just fundamentally disagree that a player being out for a few games is worse than someone who's literally just won the Ballon d'Or as out for the entirety of the season. I just fundamentally disagree there, especially when it's not even like we've got a bad defensive midfielder who can do that. And again, this is Pep's fault. This is where the point needs to come in. I'm not giving Pep slack. This is Pep's fault because he was happy with the squad. But it's not even like we don't even have our Rob Holding to play at 6. We don't have a 6. We're having to play 8s at 6. See what I mean? Again, that's Pep's fault.
That comes down to
Is
failure
it
in
Calvin Phillips,
squad building.
Man City player?
He's an Ipswich. He's an Ipswich.
But he's a Man
isn't he?
City player that you decided to send out on loan.
Yeah, right, yes, but we don't have him right now, so I don't know how that's relevant.
That's
Well,
irrelevant.
Well, it's not irrelevant because in the summer you decided to send the only alternative 6 online.
Yeah, who wasn't good enough, yeah, before the injury. If that happened during the injury, then I'd be on board with that, but we don't. The fact is, we don't have that player right now. And to be fair, Phillips would probably do a worse job, actually, but still.
Do you know what I actually think is like a really common theme when it comes to squad building? Is I genuinely don't believe that these managers and sporting directors plan around injuries. I don't think.
Well, yeah,
I honestly
you can't
don't
legislate
I agree
for
with you,
ACL,
Dan.
can you? You can't legislate for a player being
Never.
out
I
for an
listen to
entirety
so
of the
many
season.
speak
Spot
about
on.
it, and
Spot on.
I genuinely believe they don't look at the fact that injuries can happen in a way that they can affect your season so much. It's like they believe they've recruited the right person, they've got the talent there. They don't ever sort of prepare for injuries, which is just such it just seems ridiculous.
You can only prepare up to a point, though, can you? So, for example, like lots of people say, what if like Haaland's out for the season? Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter who our backup is because there's going to be a massive drop off in any.
Yeah, but I think back in the day, managers would always like you used to have 4 strikers, Nobbins, and then now you have 1.
We did, but we used to play 2 strikers.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, but then you might drop it down to 2 and 1 youngster in the academy or something like that. And I'm not saying you can't promote from within and find the next academy gem that could play in DM or something like that because you've got a good academy. But I genuinely think that a few years ago, at least within probably the last decade, we've definitely seen a turn in squad building where injuries are just not accounted for. It's like, no, injuries, if they happen, they're freak. We can't do anything about it because we've built a squad that's okay. It's almost like they buy themselves a little bit of time or they buy themselves an excuse as soon as injuries crop up. But
I think it
back in
depends
the day, squads were built to navigate injuries coming up. Like Arteta should have learned that losing Saliba was that important that he should never allowed his depth to be that low in another area for such a key player with Odegaard. Obviously, Rory, you said yesterday, I think, on TikTok about
That's
Smith
why he
Rowe
bought
going.
Timber the season
that
after
should have
right
been
away.
replaced.
That's why actually Arsenal bought Timber that season after right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone who can
And
play
then
centre back
obviously-
and right back and left back.
If you buy a replacement and then the replacement gets injured, I get it, by the way. That's when it's just unlucky, isn't it? You can't get more unlucky than
Like
that. When you
Moreno,
bought-
the first before he even kicked the ball.
Yeah, that's it, right? And that is
Oscar
unlucky.
Bob.
But at the
Oscar
same
Bob is very
time-
unlucky, to be honest. Yeah, Oscar Bob
Calafiori-
is
Calafiori's
It
played less
depends
than
on the
half
position,
season.
though, as well, doesn't it? Because you can't have. I mean, City are in a weird situation where we do have 2 first choice keepers, but that's unusual. In general, you can't have 2 first choice keepers. You can't. If you play 1-9, you can't have 2 first choice 9s.
But
Or players of like a
both
similar
of your
quality.
clubs have both managers who have obviously got a history of working together have decided that the best thing to do is work with a much more reduced squad than say, like, look at Chelsea. We can't get players on the pitch in the Conference League because we've got that many options in terms of rotation. So at what point do you look at both of them and go, look, maybe you do need to work with 25 players and just deal with it? What's 4 extra players in training when you've got an injury list of 3 or 4 players pretty much every week?
I do agree. And I was saying in the summer we need another player. So again, I'm not disputing that. Everyone knows I wanted Bruno Guimaraes. I wanted that sort of player. But again, you'll notice that I'm not after an out and out 6 like a Calvin Phillips because he won't play if Rodry's available. So
yeah, and I think that's where you're right, Nobbins, is where your managers, both Arteta and Pep and whoever's in charge in terms of the director side of things and building that squad, they agree with you on that point that we can't bring in a player who's happy to sit on the bench behind a Ballon d'Or winning midfielder because Pep is just never going to use him. But Pep also at the same time brought in like Alex Song to sit behind Busquets because Song was happy to take the payday, right, and be at a level where if they needed him, he was at a level where he could sort of fit in. They did it with Lima at Bayern Munich to sit in for Philip Lahm. I think you probably tried to do it with Calvin Phillips, Kovacic. It's not worked. So at the same time, you do need a number there. Like I can tell you right now, Arteta would have loved to have been able to turn to his bench and have Emil Smith-Rowe. 100%.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with any of that. Yeah. We
Let
need
me-
another body. Didn't bring one in.
Big up Mo, big up Saliba, like and subscribe. The frauds.
What I would also just say on that though is that again, like so people. I don't think I'm doing it, but some people, if they want to use that as an excuse to like not win the title, I'm of the view that there is a short-term in-house solution, and then you can resolve it long-term in January. So for people going, oh, so you've got no chance, it's like this isn't really like the 1920 season where Company went and we didn't replace him, and then Laporte's out for like 3/4 of the season, and then Otamendi remembers who he is, and Stones is out. Like it's not that situation where we're having to play Fernandinho, or like Liverpool in the 2021 season where they were shafted to the point.
Kabak and Fabinho played centre back.
Like in that situation, that is literally you've just been decimated. There is nothing you can do. Like realistically, you can't do anything. City aren't in that situation. There are in-house solutions which aren't perfect, but we can sort it out.
Is it alarming if you don't win against Brighton? The last question before we end the show. Is it alarming?
Of course, yeah. I want to win. Definitely. Of course it's alarming. Yeah.
I mean, it would have to be alarming. You'd have lost 4 games.
No, but they're 23 points. That's the thing. Because even if they lose and Arsenal don't win or something, it's still within. Listen, I actually hear a lot of Man City fans. Nobbins is one of them that said that last season before, he said, as long as I'm within touching distance, comes December, January, February, I'm all right.
Yes. And that's me as well. Because if we get to January 1st of Jan and with our results of Liverpool or Arsenal, if they do a big comeback, or Chelsea, whoever,
or Forest,
whoever is first,
I can't take it serious.
Then I know that it can be resolved in the January transfer window, and then so if we sign again, this is just a name, not saying we should sign, but if we did sign Zubimendi, just a name for argument's sake, someone of his quality, then I would back us to win the title and to win it quite comfortably. Yes, and I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. Guys, listen to Randy TV here. Big up Mo. Hit that like button, people. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Of course, guys, I'm actually less than 100 subscribers from 27K. So I'm really hoping to get that within the next 2 weeks or something in the international break. And Donna, Colin, Wagwan, Tom is not here today. He just couldn't make it today. That's why we're not talking a lot of Liverpool today. Randy's saying, can we make excuses for Arsenal? It's time to win. I think we spoke about this in length, Randy, to be honest. And there are no excuses, but there are context. And that's what people are saying, to be honest. So, Randy, that is the case. There is no excuses. 600 viewers still here. 320 likes. Let's get 400, guys, before we go. And I think we just wrap it up here and just tell the people what does everyone have today. Nobbins, I'm going to start with Nobbins if he has anything. Anything you want to shout out?
But I am working on I'm finalizing the script today, recording it today, and then I'll be editing it over the weekend. The video is called Are Man City Broken? And it's going to be a deep dive analysis into the issues plaguing City this season, why Pep's actually compounding the issues, using some interesting data to try to figure out what's going on. And then I'll be giving my thoughts on because I alluded to it on the show, there are some solutions. I'll be offering those solutions in that video in a nicely edited format and way.
All right. Dan, we got coming up.
I'm just on lives on other channels today, but over the weekend we'll be previewing Chelsea Arsenal, I'm sure, and reacting to it because who knows how that one's going to go. So, yeah.
And Rory has 6:30 today, 6 or 6:30?
No, it's actually 7 today. So half an hour later than normal. Yeah.
Okay, so 7 people tune into Rory. I'm actually going live at 8. So,
nice.
Guys, I got like a fiery show at 8 with Saad, Ziad, Charlie, TJ, and Ashraf. We're just talking about Arsenal, Chelsea. combined 11s, and this is going to be a completely different irrational show. It's going to be the irrational league in that show. So that'll be a fire show. But big up everybody that is. This is going to take you to Football Terrace, guys. Let's go to the terrace with Don, Lolis, and Staffy. It's going to be a great show. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you for everybody. Hit that like button, guys, before we go. We're that close to 400 likes. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you for everybody. Super chat the channel. Support the channel. Like the video. I'll see you guys soon. We're out of here, people.